demonstrate your position, and we very appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I hope all our colleagues will get all new knowledge to improve their skills and to extend their possibilities. So thank you very much again, Francisco.
Well, thanks. Actually, thank you for both of you. Actually, you gave me the opportunity to present today to everyone in your university. I got friends from Ukraine here in Cardiff. A couple of colleagues, they were studying the Master of Facade Engineering, and through that, and actually he was one of the persons that he was building a lot in Kiev back in the day. So I got kind of like a connection with I go this week. I'm gonna go for drinks with them. So somehow I got a connection with Kiev and Ukraine, and he's always telling me that we need to do something about our field, facade engineering, back in Kiev one day. Hopefully we will. So this is the kind of things that we are interested about, just cross-disciplinary in this case, but also somehow connecting people and helping to each other. I don't know if actually, because I got a lot of people going through the lobby. Hopefully this is going to work. So I'm going to wait probably a couple of minutes while I'm introducing everyone and saying thank you to both of you. I think you can see now the presentation.
Yeah, we can see the presentation, and I think we can start your webinar because maybe some people have some problems with the light, so I think we can start.
Okay. Anyway, no matter what, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to record that. If anyone had a problem, you will be able to, I will send you the recording and you can share within your organization. I will send also the links of all the documents that I'm going to be talking about today, because there is going to be a couple of documents I'm covering. So no matter if there is any technical issue, somehow you can also share the information. So what I'm going to say now is everyone is happy for me to record. I will start recording, and in this way later on we are able to share the recording. Eight people. Okay, perfect. So the first thing is the thank you to Yuri and Ina for inviting me. This director of Bogomolets National Medical University and the head of the department for teaching. So I really appreciate you both giving me the opportunity to present today to the doctoral students, and I believe there are more than doctoral students, to my colleagues in Kiev. And the reason because I was connecting with all of you was simple as your colleagues are really proactive in terms of research about artificial intelligence. I've been doing this webinar and research about artificial intelligence for PhD students. Myself, I got 5 PhD students. So what I was feeling in the last couple of years is a change in few things that we are going to discuss today. That's why I was interested about knowing a little bit more, not just in my organization, because it's always good to have a good perspective, what's going on in other countries, and especially what's going on in other fields. As I was saying at the beginning, my background is in construction. I know most of you are going to be related to health, medicine, but it is always good to have a different perspective and see how other people are applying artificial intelligence to their own fields, because we can use that to support each other, and we can use that for lateral thinking as well. If you solve a problem in your field, maybe I can use the same methodology and use it for a different problem in a different field. So I'm working in University of the West of England, which is based in Bristol. Senior lecturer in facade engineering, building physics, and zero carbon construction. And basically, quickly, because I did that before, to put Bristol in the map, if you don't know what it is, Glastonbury Festival, for those that like music, the Balloon Festival, which is every summer, and also the bridge is the most iconic picture that you probably will see about Bristol, which is connecting Bristol with London. It's a Victorian era piece of engineering. So the agenda today is 3 points. The first one is how artificial intelligence is already transforming doctoral studies. So it's a little bit of a reflection about what it's doing for us. The second one is a survey that is more like a reflection, a reflective exercise for you to, I'm asking you questions, but if you go through those questions, you will feel how you use it, how much you use it, for what you use it, and what kind of help you will need to use it in a much better way. This is part of our research, and this is part of trying to understand your side, because on these days, the change has been so quick that we never had the chance to actually ask you properly your experience. So normally policies that we are implementing are taking into account our side, a lecturing side, director of studies, etc. But the purpose of that survey is to understand a little bit your side as well. And the intake of today, what I really want to basically to deliver is the ethical use of artificial intelligence, because this is the part that is worrying me a little bit more. Trying to explain how to use it in an ethical way. And I believe, according to bibliography, but also I've done this seminar a few times, this webinar a few times, I got the feeling that this is the actual hot potato or the elephant in the room. And in doctoral level, it's not as bad as in undergraduate and master's level, but it's about having the conversation, trying to explain a little bit better what is ethical and what is not. I think we all understand what it is ethical and what is not that ethical, but yet it's always worth it to have this kind of conversation. So first of all, a brief definition. What is generative AI? There are different types of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm covering the one that most of us are using. And I'm saying that because I'm analyzing already data for around 400 answers of that survey. And it was interesting to see that actually, aside of some key people doing really, really specific tasks in PhD, in doctoral studies, most of us are just literally using generative AI. And what is generative AI? Is just a piece of technology that uses deep learning models to generate human-like content. And for example, it could be text when you're writing your thesis, it could be an image, etc. in response to complex prompts. So short will be basically when you open ChatGPT, which is the one that I have seen 90% of doctoral students are using, according to the data I'm analyzing. Is basically that piece of text that you put is the prompt asking for something. It could be to rewrite one of your chapters. It could be many other things. Ina, is everyone able to access correctly to the webinar? Because I can see people getting in, and I believe people. I was copying the link again in the chat.
Yeah, I think it's correctly. Some people write that they have some problems, and I sent this link, what you sent in our chat.
Awesome, perfect.
But we have some problem with electricity, with the light, so that's why some problem maybe. Yeah.
Well, no problem. And I keep just pressing yes to whoever is trying to get in again. So I will keep doing it. We got 67 people, so that is a good signal that actually people are able to be in the room. But was just in case, but it looks like it should be okay. Okay. Thank you. So if you are a doctoral student, then by the time that you get out of your PhD, according to the companies we are talking with, because that's part of university, you are in contact with, in my case, I'm in contact with construction manufacturers, architectural firms, etc. And we try to figure out what skills they want us to teach you. And one of the key things on these days, literally the last year, it was they need people that they are able to, students that are able to understand the principles and the how to use artificial intelligence in your field and in an ethical way. And according to them, and in that point, I somehow agree, but it's open to interpretation. You will not have skills to market if you don't know how to use AI. What they mean by AI is different for every person, for every company. So in most cases, actually, is not that highly competent in AI. Depending on the company you are going to be working with, maybe yes. Biotechnology company, maybe you need to be really good. But in general, it's the basic understanding of how to use ChatGPT and things like that. So it's not about being scared at this point. It's about understanding that you go 3 years, well, depending on your stage in your doctoral studies. But it could be a good idea for you if you didn't start. I'm sure you do all use some AI somehow. But you will need to develop those skills. However, at the same time, what it worries me is that we are forgetting somehow that part. If you are a doctoral student, then by the time that you get out of your PhD, you will need to be an expert of your field as well and have the skills of a traditional researcher. If you can't do that, you will not have the skills to market. And for me, that is the key part, because you can always learn artificial intelligence, a specific one that you need to learn for whatever reason. But something that you should be learning throughout your 3 years of doctoral studies, you can't learn that in 1 week. So for me, that part is the most important part. And I believe in construction at least, and I believe in health, it will be the same. Your skills, the core skills that you need to learn, the principles about your field, those ones are the real ones to become a doctor. And this is something that ChatGPT so far cannot replace, trust me. We are marking, we are all external examiners, and we see how ChatGPT and artificial intelligence is impacting in the level of understanding of PhD students. PhD students a little bit less than master students, especially master students in the last year. It has been there has been a big impact, and we are starting to be worried about the quality of the submissions, and more than that, the quality of the learning. But we will see that in a minute, why this is happening. So the question of these days is, do we implement AI in our curricula or not? I know maybe a couple, but they are already changing. The restrictive way of approaching the challenge, this is a lost battle. In reality, all the universities somehow are accepting the fact that artificial intelligence is happening. So they could be more or less restrictive, but somehow all the universities are already understanding that this is going to be part of the learning, this is going to be part of the working environment, and they need somehow to implement the change. So what happens when you tell students not to use artificial intelligence is like telling a kid not to eat chocolate, basically. They deny, but then actually all of us are using artificial intelligence. Myself, I'm using artificial intelligence, so I don't see the point to tell students, no, don't eat chocolate, no, don't use artificial intelligence. I believe there is a much better approach where we guide the student to do the right thing with the right tools. So this is the thing that is starting to worry us. What exactly is doing artificial intelligence? We use artificial intelligence. We use ChatGPT, Gemini, several other possible tools are in the market. But do we really know what is actually doing to us, those tools, and to our brains? And especially the cognitive processes, the learning processes are already affected by the use of ChatGPT. All depends on the amount of time that you dedicate, obviously. But this is the first thing I want to, the first key ideas that I would love to deliver, and then how it's affecting also to the ethics in terms of research. So 2 papers I will share in an email later on, the links to the papers, so no worries, you will have access to the papers. And the first thing, that paper was published in Science, and the outcome, the results, the conclusion of the paper was that ChatGPT actually can help people perform writing assignments faster and better. And I want you to take that in the context, because we need to take all the conclusions and all the results in a context. The sample of this exercise was 453 educated professionals, included marketers, grant writers, and managers. Half of them were asked to write as usual, not using ChatGPT, and the other half using ChatGPT. The group using ChatGPT finished faster, 60 minutes on average. The other ones were using, on average, 27 minutes. And the quality of the work was also much better, 18% better on average for the group using ChatGPT. So if we take that particular piece of research, we will think, well, actually, ChatGPT is going to help us, and it's really, really good tool. We are going to be faster, and the quality is going to be much better. And when we ask PhD students, this is what they normally tend to tell us, is basically, I feel more efficient, and I feel that my writing, it is much better. And this is true. And I feel the same. It's not just the PhD students. So I believe on these days that we don't have enough time, we want to be more efficient, and ChatGPT can help us. But the important detail of this particular piece of research is that actually the people that were included in this study, all of them knew how to write. All of them were actually educated professionals. So they already had developed the skill. They didn't need to learn the skill. They already knew how to write. So if you know, let's say, that your topic, if you know really well the skill, actually ChatGPT is going to be a really good tool for you to be more efficient. For people like us that we are not English native, it's going to be really good. One of the benefits that I can see, and is really nice, is that it's going to put all of us that we are not English speakers at the same level that somebody writing in Cambridge or in Harvard, native speaker. So we are not going to have that barrier anymore. You will be able to translate, you will be able to disseminate, you will be able to actually contact and connect, because the new technologies are actually helping us to translate quicker. Our writing is becoming actually to the same level, and that will help us. It used to be a barrier back in the day, now it's not a barrier anymore. So there are really good benefits. But I want you to give a go to this second piece of research that is adding to the previous one. So what is doing artificial intelligence to our brains. In this case, we had 54 participants, and they needed to write 3 essays. But the people writing those essays were actually college entrance exam type. So those individuals within the sample, they were not professional trained, meaning that they didn't develop the skills yet. They knew how to write, but they needed to develop the writing. They needed to progress into the process of writing. So the first group, they were allowed to use ChatGPT. The second group, they were allowed to use Google, like everyone used to do 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, to inform the writing. And the third group could only use their brains. That was the old school. When I was starting to do research, we only had the brain. So the group of ChatGPT, when they were studying, they were monitoring brain activity, and they found that actually they were having the least brain activity. The Google group fell somewhere in between. So in between the people only using the brain and the people using ChatGPT. So the Google group, which is the kind of things that we have been doing for the last 10 years, let's say that you use your brain, but you always get somehow going to Google, etc. So it's not to your full potential. And the brain group was the only one fully activating the areas related with idea creation, organizing thoughts, outlining, and revising, which are the core things that you do when you are trying to go through the writing process. So you are starting to see some differences, right, between the people using ChatGPT, not using ChatGPT. And why this is important? Because when you ask people using ChatGPT, 83% of them were not able to quote from their own essay. So they were writing an essay, which was the main task. They finished, they submitted, and actually they were showing a close to perfect use of language and structure, while simultaneously failing to give personal insights or clear statements. And this is the kind of thing that you get from ChatGPT. Vague general statements that they look absolutely perfect because the English is perfect. So the let's say the narrative is beautiful, is nice, and it sounds true. We will see about that later on, but it's not in-depth critical analysis. It's just giving you a vague statement. But the most important thing, who was the one actually creating this narrative, you or ChatGPT? So after submitting that essay, if we ask you about what you were writing, 83% of people were not able to quote from their own essay. And this is shocking. While in the other groups, the groups using Google or the groups using their own brain, only 11 people had issues to remember what it was about. And this is the part that worries me more. And this is because you are developing knowledge while you are developing your 3 years of doctoral studies. If you are writing only using ChatGPT, you will not be able to remember. At the end of your process, you will have a viva. I believe in Ukraine, probably it's going to be the same. You got an examination with an external examiner, internal examiner. Somehow it's going to be the same. And if you are not able to remember what you were working for the last 3 years, you're going to have difficulties to actually deal with your examination. And this is the difference between co-creating or ChatGPT creating for you, or you actually being the one creating. So once they finished that, the 3 essays, they were asked to write a 4th essay. And they thought, okay, let's do it easy, because those ones were voluntary people. And they were told, okay, if you want, you can pick up one of the 3 essays that you were doing before. So supposedly you know already what to write about. Most of the work is done. But in this case, the old ChatGPT group was asked to only use the brain. And the third group was allowed to use ChatGPT. So basically, they switched. There's no anymore group using Google. Now there is only two groups. The people using before ChatGPT, you are not allowed anymore to use ChatGPT, only use your brain, and the other way around. Interestingly, the old ChatGPT group did not achieve the same level of brain activity as the group that never had access to artificial intelligence. In contrast, when the brain-only group switched to using ChatGPT, they observed they were even using the brain in a much better way. And this is related with basically they already knew somehow the topic. They went through the process of thinking before in the previous 3 rounds of writing. And they activated all these areas in your brain that are related to the writing, concentration, creation of ideas, etc. And when you add to that, after you activated all those areas, ChatGPT, actually that is giving you an extra bonus. The other way around, it doesn't work. So if you need to take one idea out of this webinar, it will be basically outsourcing too early is the biggest risk here. So before you start writing a chapter of your thesis, a new paper, whatever you need to do, what I will say is that basically take the old way, take your pen, take your piece of paper and start thinking. Start thinking about what you want to write, your thoughts, your critical analysis. Activate your brain, basically. Then, basically, is when you can start to use ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence. So the results of this particular document is basically be strategic. First of all, you do a self-driven effort with your brain and then use ChatGPT. So that's the first part. Never start writing by opening ChatGPT. I'm guilty of that on these days. Basically, we are just so used to you open your laptop and straight you got ChatGPT. But I tend to have my box of paper here. And whenever I really want to design a new project, design a new paper, the first thing I do always is to handwritten, have my ideas, have my questions, and then I move to ChatGPT. Right, so both documents will be available in an email that I will send to all of you. And here is the moment where I'm going to ask you to do the survey. I'm going to give 10-15 minutes for all of you. No worries, if you can't finish now, you can finish later on. In the same email where I'm adding the links to the papers, I will add the link again. Use that particular survey as a tool for you to go through a reflection process on how you use artificial intelligence, because I think it's something that we forget. We tend to forget. We use something, but we don't really understand how we use it, how often we use it, for what we use it, what it will help us to actually make the most to the use, etc. So it is anonymous. It's impossible to know who says what. Whenever I transcribe all the information, basically I put participant A420, so nobody knows who you are. But that will help us also to basically to understand a little bit what kind of help you will need. And we will disseminate all the outcomes, all the outputs. So this is the QR code, and this is the link that I'm going to copy also in the chat. And you got 15 minutes now. I will check if everything is okay while you do that. And again, if you are not able to finish in these 10 minutes, it's fine. You can finish later on. Let me see, where is the link? And I can copy it to you. There is. The answers so far to this survey have been really, really interesting. And actually, it's nice to see that most of you are having almost the same level, and there is the same kind of challenges everyone is facing. Really interesting answers. So hopefully by the end of this month, I will be able to submit the paper, and soon I will be able to share any output. I was copying in the chat the link, just in case you don't have QR. You can also click the link in the chat, and that will give you access to the survey. So we have crossed the 100 people in the webinar, which is amazing. Thank you all of you for coming. And once you finish that, what I will have is 20 slides on artificial intelligence and academic, let's say, ethics more than academic offenses, because academic offenses sound too offensive. And actually, I don't think people, as I said in the other webinars, people attending this webinar, I'm sure you are in the bright side and not doing, because you got an interest about understanding what to do. You can answer by the way, you can answer in any language. I got answers in Ukrainian. I got answers in Spanish, because the webinar has been delivered in different languages already. I got at the end of this week one in Thailand. Next week I got in Chile. So feel comfortable. Again, the good thing about AI is that I'm able to translate your answer to English and then to analyze the data.
So I understand correctly that now our participants have 10 minutes here for answer on this Google form, yeah?
Yeah, or at least for you to start, you go through some of the questions, probably, because I don't want to, if you tell me some people will need to leave, at least you start to do it later and you can complete the full, I will give you 10 minutes for you to start the process. You could be finishing in 10 minutes. It's not a long survey. But I will stop at probably 45, and in this way I got another 15 minutes to deliver the second part, which is AI ethics. But at least in this way, everyone is connecting with the survey, and eventually you will finish today or tomorrow. I will put the link as well in the newsletter for you to have access if you didn't have access today. That's not a problem. And it's a way for you to reflect as well on a few things about the use of AI.
Тобто зараз наш спікер пропонує протягом 10 хвилин дати відповідь на Google форму. Якщо, наприклад, ви маєте якісь технічні труднощі, то все рівно посилання буде надіслано. Він буде чекати до 15:45, щоб мати можливість прокоментувати ваші відповіді відразу в онлайні. І потім вже перейде до другої частини, яка стосується етики. Тож маємо 9 хвилин для того, щоб заповнити Google форму. maybe when our pedagogical staff write this answer, I wanna told you that in our university we try to use AI not only for some article, not only for some conclusion on this article or understand the topic. We try to use it in a clinical part. So we have some collaboration with Ukrainian startups. For example, it's a AI assistant for our medical electronical system. Some startups to check their eyes. So we use it on many reasons. And also we have in our university two schools. First school, it's digital competence school and pedagogical competence school. And we try to teach our pedagogical staff how to use some application with AI correctly and how to use AI, for example, ChatGPT, correctly for ethical part. And have some speakers the same like you, so thank that you want to share with us your opportunity and your background and so some speakers told for the teachers how to use correctly with ethical part, how to create correctly some presentation or some idea.
Yeah, I was some of the answers because to the webinar that when we met first, we had some really interesting answers from your side actually, and it was looking like one or two were already using at a really high level artificial intelligence, as you were explaining now, rather than just generative one applied to actual processes and applied to actual clinical processes, which was super interesting to see. Most of us probably we are using it for generative AI to improve probably the writing and things like that, finding the papers, etc. But then there is another group of people using it for a higher level processes for every field, and it's those ones are going to be the pioneers somehow to develop new tools, as you said. And those ones probably are fully aware of all the ethical side. The ones I'm worried, because I see it in my side, is the ones that actually are using it on daily basis for just the writing, co-creation, etc. Those ones are the ones that are a little bit unaware of how to do it in the right way. But you had a couple that I saw in a really high level of using AI, which was really impressive. I mean, you got publications already, so you are ahead of many universities on these days. And the interesting thing, what you got, giving a lot of support, what I can see is that within your, in the same kind of field, you got the pedagogical side applied to your field, which is what we got, but not exactly. So we got the learning side, which is somehow isolated as let's call it the teachers. And then we got a tiny little unit in our department, which is somehow trying to help us. But in your case, you got it as a core fundamental process in supporting the learning of your field, which is, I'm sure, is super beneficial for what you are trying to do. And that will make a huge difference.
Yes, thank you. And when we wait, I want to ask you some questions. What do you think? Create clinical scenario or clinical case with AI. It's good practical for medical university or no? What do you think about this?
I believe that it's going to be. I believe it's going to be taking over everything, and it's about us exploring for what processes is actually helping us in the right direction. We need to create a lot of resources for artificial intelligence to be actually helpful, and we need to have the right people leading those processes, because otherwise artificial intelligence is going to be working as a black box and it's going to start to give funny answers. The interesting thing about artificial intelligence in the generative side, then we can apply to other, we can apply to become predictive, we can apply to do some other things. But my concern is about who is leading the creation of those applications, let's call it, or systems or flows. Who is creating the machine learning, who is creating the algorithms, who is creating the, because the answers, there's going to be all these algorithms, all these machine learning systems are going to give you always an answer. Is the answer correct? Only people that already know the answer somehow can tell you. And this is my concern. In my site, for instance, when we apply to energy prediction, building modeling, CO2 predictions, we are trying to reduce, etc. When we do it for machine learning, when we do it for, we are trying to make decisions, which is your case as well. You will need to, can it speed up the decision making? Yes, it can speed up. But what I can see is that depending who was building up those systems, the answers are not correct sometimes, and they act like a black box too often. So if the person who is actually using that system is not understanding the answers, so it doesn't have the right level of understanding of about the topic, rather than helping, you're gonna end doing or taking the wrong decisions, which in the medical side is a little bit tricky. But this is always a process when a new technology comes. There will be a process of developing the right tools. Some of the tools will be rejected because of that, and some of the tools will become the tools that we use on daily basis. I believe this is going to happen in the next 3-4 years, and we can't stop the change to happen. So I suppose universities like your university, which already got startups and things like that, and the right people taking the steps, should be the ones leading that process, because you've got the knowledge, you've got the technology, the people, the capabilities. So definitely this is something that we need to explore, and we need to do it. It's a trial and error. Let's see how it goes, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's really an interesting idea, and I think with AI we can create something better for our student, and don't spend a lot of time, but always we must to check this and understand that not everything can be correctly here. Yes. So I think we can continue.
Yes, so let's move to the next part. You can finish the survey later on. So the academic integrity in artificial intelligence is, I will say, is nothing new. All the academic offenses that you are about to see have been in the market for centuries. It's not even 5 years ago. However, artificial intelligence is a new technology that is making, let's call it cheating, easier, cheaper, and instant. And this is the problem in my own way of thinking. So if you go through the literature review, the main challenge is artificial intelligence and ethics. And there is a fine line between AI co-creation or even AI creation, depending on every case is different, and AI supporting you to create. We say that there is a fine line, but actually I believe there is no such a thing. We all know what we do with AI. We all know what is ethical and what is not ethical, but it's so easy to cheat on these days that, let's say, some students have decided to take the dark side, which is not good. So to avoid that is basically, today we are going to go through the classic offenses based on ethics. And whenever you go to your Viva, you need to remember that the final product must be truly representing the students' thinking and effort, and not the product of an external automated robot, ChatGPT or whatsoever. The misuse of AI can violate academic integrity in several ways. There are two main areas of misuse. The first one, artificial intelligence does your job. Back in the day, you needed to find one person with the right knowledge. You needed to pay money. So it wasn't easy to find the right person. You needed to have the money. And it was taking maybe 1 month, 2 months to get the job done. With ChatGPT and some other tools, you get something done. It doesn't mean it's a good job, but you get something done almost for free, almost instantly. And that's the trick. So the first one is plagiarism. What is plagiarism? The definition hasn't changed. The use of someone else's words, ideas, data, images, tables, diagrams, code, as well code, as your own material without referencing it. And if you do that, that could lead you to some other academic offenses. When we apply it to artificial intelligence, let's have 3 points here to understand a little bit better. So you present something that ChatGPT has created as your own original work. That is plagiarism, and something else that we will see in a minute. On top of that, AI can give you a piece of work with no sites. That's also plagiarism. And if you don't explain how you were using AI, it's also plagiarism. And the second one is an interesting one, because actually you cannot cite the AI use. We will see why in a minute. And that was coming in the first webinar. Somebody was asking that question. I don't know if somebody was mentioning that about, can I cite the use of AI helping in my thesis or an article? So you cannot cite AI for different reasons. First of all, you shouldn't use AI as an authoring tool for your thesis or parts of your thesis. One thing is that it's supporting you in the process, but not as an author. The second is that authorship implies accountability, which only a human can take, not a machine, a robot, ChatGPT. And I was putting between brackets yet, because who knows in the future how we change policy, but so far you can't. Only a human. So only another human can be cited. What you can cite is actually when you cite a piece of software being used, that's what you can cite. That's fine. But what basically happens is that also most universities and journal policies say AI can't be an author of any content, images included. So check first of all if you're going to submit to Elsevier, Emerald, or whatsoever, what are the policies for those editors, because you will be surprised about what you can use and what you can't use, and see how far you can go, and see how you can not cite, but how you can disclose the use, which is different than citing. So basically, you try to understand the limits of every policy, your university, which is different than our university. Every university has different policies. Check how you are asked to declare the use of AI, because every university or journal paper is different, and you act in consequence. There is something really, really interesting about something called AI plagiarism, also self-citation of your own previously published work. There was somebody also in the first webinar who was really worried because he was getting high level of plagiarism. And she was saying, well, actually, I wrote everything. I don't know why this tool, which is called Zero GPT, is saying that most of my work, or Turnitin, every university uses a different one, is saying that I got too much work copy-pasted from somebody else. I was suggesting her to check if she published that part of the information within the thesis previously, and she wasn't self-referencing, self-citing herself. So if you have been reusing your text, graphs, ideas in multiple pieces of writing, it's known as self-plagiarism, but as far as you cite yourself and you change a little bit these images, text, graphs, etc. in your thesis, it should be fine. And this is basically a Snoop Dogg. I don't know if you have seen the video where when he was given a star in the Walk of Fame in Hollywood, he was thanking himself for doing all the hard work. So you should do the same when you're writing your final thesis. You should cite yourself. If you were doing plagiarism, it could be that you also got a false authorship, which is basically you are claiming authorship that it was done by ChatGPT or a different piece of generative software for a piece of the full thesis. Normally tends to be in the thesis, a piece of the thesis when you submit dissertations. If you were doing your master students, your master studies, this year I had 2 not very clever students submitting 2 dissertations fully completed with ChatGPT. So obviously they didn't pass and they were accused of several things. False authorship, it doesn't make any sense when you are about to submit a thesis, especially if it's in the medical field. You put 3 years of your life to learn something, do it yourself, learn it, and you should be the one writing the material. And then you can be also accused of AI contract cheating, which is basically if an AI tool completed entire pieces of your thesis, it is considered like the old ghost writer when you were paying somebody else to write your assignments. So it could be a dissertation, it could be a thesis. So as you can see, this is really, really old stuff. It has been happening for centuries. People has been accused of contract cheating. People were basically paying ghostwriters to do not only in academia, but books, etc. But on these days, it's faster, cheaper, so it's easier to cheat. So be aware of those things. AI collusion is the last one, and it's basically in this field, and it's basically the kind of collaboration between students. A thesis is something normally that is an independent piece of work. If another colleague of you has been helping you, in this case, the colleague is ChatGPT, and the results are not entirely yours, you probably will be also accused of AI collusion. You don't want to have all that collection of academic offenses, but if you do the work and you use AI to improve your writing, find this last reference that you cannot find, and then you check if the reference exists, etc. We will see that in a minute. Then this is supporting you, but it's not doing the job. So the second type of academic offenses are the ones related to AI faking data for you. And again, this is old, really, really old stuff. Before AI was existing, people could do falsifications, which is basically you alter research images, modify data sets, or distort experimental outcomes to achieve the desired results dishonestly. Then now, if you add an AI tool, you can do that much, much faster. So probably the temptation is higher, but still, if you're an ethical researcher, you know you shouldn't be doing that. And in terms of data, be really careful, because when you are cleaning data or you are managing data with ChatGPT, it could be that ChatGPT is not cleaning the data correctly for you. It could be that ChatGPT or any other tool is not doing the right job. It could be that you're exposing data. You are basically adding to some tools data that is sensitive data that you shouldn't be sharing, because we don't know what exactly those companies are doing with the data. So be careful about those things. The last one is fabrication. Fabrication is the next step. It's basically you create false data, false sources or results with the help of AI. And a good example is hallucinations, whether it's intentional or not. So you ask ChatGPT for 3 references to back up a statement that you want to make in a paper. ChatGPT, again, is going to give you always an answer. That doesn't mean that the answer is correct. So it could happen, and it happens, and that's why there is a name already for that, which is called hallucinations. That ChatGPT is giving you, is faking, is creating fake references. It has happened to me, etc. So check anything that ChatGPT is giving to you, check that the references are actually existing, because sometimes it doesn't exist. Check that the title is actually the title and is not a different paper, because sometimes it's giving you the link and the link actually is a different paper. Check that the authors are the correct authors, etc. Check, check, check. You will be accused of fabrication the minute you got hallucinations added to your thesis. So check always, because it's a pity. And on these days, I got colleagues that the only thing they do, they scan the references in the last page. If you are in a field, you more or less, you know who has been written about a specific topic. And you start to check the names, and suddenly there are 2, 3 names that don't ring any bell, and you think, And if you start to find papers that actually are not existing, the student is going to be in trouble. Okay, so it's important for you to check whatever answer ChatGPT is giving you. I wanted to make as a final point an interesting, this is not an academic offense, but this is something that it tends to happen. If the data that you got, for any research, the most important thing is the quality of the data. ChatGPT cannot help you, or any artificial intelligence tool cannot help you to make it more beautiful, more accurate. It can paint it for you, it can make it more beautiful whatsoever, but not of a better quality. So the quality of the data that you're collecting is really important. Don't use AI to basically to beautify or whatsoever, because it's still rubbish. And especially in clinical research, and in my case, energy modeling, we always say rubbish in, rubbish out. You could be spending time just asking ChatGPT, could you fulfill all the gaps within this data? And ChatGPT will do it for you, but you are putting rubbish in, your outputs are going to be rubbish. Rubbish in, rubbish out. So the quality of the data, please. Final point, academic integrity and AI. That's how we check. That's how the external examiner, that's how the people in your school will check before you submit your thesis. And probably this is going to help you to understand a little bit better the process. We in our university, we use Turnitin. I don't know what exactly you will be using in your university, but the piece of software probably is going to be the same or similar, and ZeroGPT. So what is happening is we receive a report and we see what is the percentage of plagiarism, what is the percentage of copy-paste, where all this copy-paste is coming from. But that report is not triggering an academic offense, because sometimes if you are working in a field, you basically, you get all the words from the field. You somehow, you write in the same style that others. That doesn't mean that you committed plagiarism. That doesn't mean that actually you were using ChatGPT for the wrong purpose. It's only giving us the tools, the reports, the information for us to start the process. And trust me, when you are an external examiner and you go to a Viva, it takes 5 minutes. It takes 2 questions to know if the student completed that piece of work or not. Because remember the beginning of this presentation, if you have been using ChatGPT for everything, or a generative piece of software to write your thesis or to write some of the chapters, you will not be able to remember anything about your writing. 83% of what you were submitting probably is not even in your brain. You have no idea what the question is about if we are asking you a question. So it takes a couple of questions. If you have done the work, be confident, if you are using ChatGPT as a support team, as a support tool, or any other tool. I'm repeating ChatGPT because I've seen in the outputs of this research that 90% of us are using ChatGPT as a tool. Then we got 10% of higher level using some of the tools, but most of us are using that one. So if you have done the job, go to the Viva, super confident you will be able to answer all the questions. Even for some reason, you were not citing yourself, you were not adding all these references whatsoever. Turnitin or Zero GPT is giving you a really random 40% or 30% plagiarism, things like that. It's going to be super easy for you to demonstrate that you were the one actually doing the work. So that's the end of the presentation. Final product, your final thesis must truly represent the student's thinking and effort, not the product of an external automated robot. And in future presentations, the next topic is going to be basically what AI companies are doing with our data, but this is happening after Christmas. So thank you, all of you, for attending today. I will share the presentation, I will share the video basically, and I will send also links for the material that we were discussing. If you got any question, I'm going to stay here for a while just in case anyone wants to ask questions or say something. I will stay for 5 minutes, but that's the end of the presentation basically. So thank you for attending and thank you for filling the survey.
Thank you so much that you find the time for us and show for us this perfect and beautiful presentation, because always we use some academical style, and very interesting how you show this with some interesting picture. So
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Trying to make it a little bit easier for everyone to enjoy, which is always important as well. And thank you for inviting me, because for the answers that I got from your university, I think you are leading the path. So you got really people doing really interesting things, and it will be interesting. And you got publications already on the topic, so it will be interesting to see what you keep doing, and let's collaborate. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Aton. Thanks to you for coming. Okay, so got 2 people trying to get in. Sting.
Thank you. It was very interesting, and also my colleagues and my students, they watching our webinar and already posted on Instagram some information that yeah, I will send you, because it's about medical documentation which they create with AI or without AI. So I think it should be interesting for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm interested. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so a lot of thanks.
So thank you, all of you. I think we can close the webinar, and I will see you in the next one. I will send you the email with all the information, so soon you will have links for the documents and the links for the video. Nice to see you all, and nice to meet you all. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.